Welcome to the Jeremiah Interdenominational Missionary Church, where Jesus is Lord. We have missed you for a few weeks, and so I've missed these gentlemen. Really, I really missed them. I missed everybody, but I just wanted to say I missed these gentlemen because every day they were scheduled, the snow was coming. The one time they forecasted that big snow and nothing came. And then the next time it did snow, and then the next time you ain't know whether they was lying or not, right? Which shows us what? God has the power to determine on what the weather is. Not man. They can have all their little gadgets that they want, but God decides on whether we have a big snow, little snow, or no snow. But they almost got my 15 inches here I was looking for, because they had broadcast somewhere almost to 14 inches in southern Maryland, right?
Okay.
And then that's the one that they backed all the way back down to the
1 inch.
The 1 inch.
Okay.
I said, it's coming. Well, you know, I hope not now, since the weather's changed up again, and we had a nice day today. You're gonna see this next week, but we had a nice day today. Oh, let me tell y'all guys this. They are not, I don't think the studio, I still haven't gotten this straight yet, okay? But I'm gonna say what I think I understood. The website for BCMC TV is broadcasting us live. Now, how are they doing that? I don't know, okay? But this show is supposed to come on now at 8 o'clock, whatever time, at 8 o'clock, it'll be on, okay? And then if you look at that website, you'll see the ones that came on during the course of the day, the other two shows. So you'll see it next week if you didn't miss it. But I can't understand how they're broadcasting it live, right?
Okay.
Because the studio does to do edits and other things. But I do want you guys to introduce yourself, because if that was the case, they definitely need to know who you are, okay?
All right, Paula.
So we'll start with you, to my right.
Oh.
With the red and blue on.
Well, good evening. My name is Donald Bell. I am an attorney. I'm here in Prince George's County. My office is in Greenbelt, Maryland, and I am very happy to be here again. It's been a couple of months since I've been here, so I'm happy to be back. Thank you.
And your, give him your address, and it's in the credits, but I'd just like for you to give him your address and your phone number to your building.
Sure. I'm in Greenbelt, so the address is 6305 Ivy Lane, Suite 315, and that's in Greenbelt, Maryland. And phone number 301-614-0535.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure how they're doing this. I know what Tom is doing, and I know all three shows to show, you know, next week. But just in case, you know,
of course,
you're telling them the same thing with you, Ross, please.
Well, Paula, thank you for having me again here on the show. My name is Ross Levin, and I am the Executive Director of Roots of Mankind. We are a local nonprofit here in Prince George's County. I'm also located in Greenbelt. My phone number is 301-899-6800, and my address is also 6305 Ivy Lane, and I'm in Suite 120.
And their office is really, really easy to get get to. I mean, I must say that, and there's always ample parking. So, and they have handicap parking that's right there at the front of the building for those of you that are handicapped in the front and on the side of the building. And I just think that is a wonderful location if you're trying to get in contact with two gentlemen that have been in this business for a long time and have been giving us information for years, okay? So I just wanted to make sure that you knew, and I am Paula, and this is the Jeremiah I Am Show and Interdenominational Missionary Church Show, okay? So I just want to make sure that all that is said at the beginning. You see that I have a t-shirt on that somebody made for me, and it represents the monument, right, in the United States Capitol, and the cherry blossoms. Right, those are cherry blossoms. First I was trying to figure out what they were. But they say they're cherry blossoms, don't you know? So, and it's almost time for cherry blossom season, because they said they're cherry blossoms.
That time of year.
Yeah, that if the weather holds up, they can't predict right now when they're gonna come out. That's an iffy, but they are gonna bloom. And so that's a good thing to know. So I'm representing the cherry blossoms, the monument in the United States Capitol, and the cherry blossoms. So, and that's one of the gifts of God, because cherry blossoms are really hard to bloom.
Really?
You know, so we are, yeah, so we are very blessed that every time they come out each year, when they come out, you know, because they don't know if they're going to come or not due to the weather. The weather has a lot to do with whether or not they bloom. But we've been very fortunate, even if they bloom late, they still bloom. They might not be around for as long, right? But they still bloom. So it's a lot of things that are going on. There's a lot of things that we just choose not to talk about, okay? But then there's other things that God says that we should talk about, okay? I do want to say that you know that Holy Week is coming up upon you. One of the cameras had Ash Wednesday on a Friday. That was a week ago, so I don't know what country that was for or where that was from, but it actually said Ash Wednesday on Friday, okay, on my calendar. So you need to check and see what your calendar says, all right? But we are approaching Holy Week, and so I just want to remind you that whatever religious denomination that you're in, or however you worship during that time, just be prepared so you could get yourself in preparedness or preparation in which the way it is that you worship, okay? Also, we have an election that's coming up. It's one of the primaries. It's the early election, okay, that's coming up.
Special election.
It's special, that's what it's called.
For Prince George's County's executive, correct?
It's two seats.
Okay.
The executive and it's a county seat.
Okay.
For, I
That's
believe,
coming up.
Jolene Ivy, I believe.
Say it again?
Is that right? Jolene Ivy, I believe.
Yeah, so it's two seats that are available, and they're asking that the county executive is the biggest one, and then the other seat, I think it's just a county seat that somebody resigned or something. But this election is important because I keep getting all these things from the DNC. The DNC is the Democratic National Committee, and they're asking us not to abandon this election because this election is 2 seats that we need. So I'm asking you, if you did not do your mail-in ballot, okay, you have would you say early election? What would you say called?
Special.
A special election that's coming up, and I think that's on March the 3rd or March the 4th.
I'm not quite certain, but it may be March the 5th.
The 5th?
But I'm not.
It's usually on a Tuesday, isn't it? I don't know. You know, and that's bad because I did write it down and I don't have my phone in front of me because I did write that. Please forgive me. So look at the other 2 shows or check with your, where you registered to vote. Call that office. And then make sure that you are, good thing, that's why I forgot. You need to check to make sure that you're able to vote, okay, whether or not you're registered to vote. So call the registrar's office, you know, for voting and ask them what's the date for early voting. And I will be sure to mention the correct date on the next 2 shows, the Let's Talk with Paula show and the Lady Nighthawk show. But still, you should always make sure that you are able to vote and you're registered to vote because these elections are important, okay? We need these 2 seats, okay? And it's very important for us to pray for our country and pray for the world. And that's my message tonight, is to pray for the country, pray for each city, pray for each household, for every child, for the school systems, the educational school systems, higher educational school systems, because they're blocking some of those grants, and most of all, the federal government, and all of these places that they're shutting down. I think that we really need to pray because we're talking about millions of people that are out of jobs, okay? I don't understand the democracy system that, it's not even a democracy. Let me wipe that right out because that's not the way democracy works is what goes on right now. Democracy, people have to be vetted, investigated, and everything else. You can't just make it up for your own person. And I saw yesterday on the news that Florida is trying to get a dose down there. So I can't understand how we can just make up things against the Constitution of the United States. But we need to pray because this is a democracy. And I don't have to say it, it's in the news every night. So anything that you hear me say, I'm getting it from the news, okay? It's not just me. It's millions of people that, democracy is just being thrown away. I mean, it's just being dismantled. And it's been dismantled in a very, 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 very big way. one that I would have never thought that I would have never seen in my lifetime. And I'm a little confused because I thought after the Civil War that we were all patriots. Is that right or not?
I don't know what you mean by that.
By the word patriot, I feel because it seems like it's a distinction that during the time that President Trump is in office, they always have these patriot commercials, and they tell you where you can buy these foods, where you can buy these ammunitions, where you can buy this, where you can buy that, and it's for the patriots, okay? Well, I thought we were all patriots, okay? I thought,
I think we're citizens of the United States. So, as a citizen of the United States, you have certain rights, and for certain people, the 13th Amendment did away with slavery. 14th Amendment guaranteed citizenship. But, the word, when you start talking about a patriot, I mean, I guess you would have to look at a definition of that. And I guess people have different ideas of what patriotism is. My idea of patriotism may be very different from somebody else's idea of what patriotism is. I've served this country, and and I think that speaks to a certain level of patriotism because you basically signed the contract and said if need be I'll sacrifice my life for this country. Mm-hmm. But there may be certain other people that have maybe different ideas of what patriotism means and whatnot. And I think as part of being a citizen in this country, you get to express yourself, express your patriotism in however
manner you wish.
Manner that you wish. And for certain people, patriotism may mean that they are beholden to certain ideas and things of that nature. So that's.
I understand.
Yeah.
And the reason why I said that tonight was that Stephen Colbert, I watch him at nighttime. The first 15 minutes of his show, he always kind of dialogue about what's going on, and he tells
it's too late for me. That's too late for me. So.
Excuse me. It's truth in it.
What time does he come at 11?
And he comes like 11:30.
Okay, so I'm in my third dream by then.
I know you are. But last night he said, I don't understand what this big thing is about being a patriot. He said, I'm a patriot. He said, I've always been a patriot. I love this country. I thought patriot was the person that stood for democracy, So it must have been getting to him too, like, well, what the heck is if I'm not a patriot and I've served, he said, you got people that serve, the country and like you just said, and you got people that believe that they are doing what patriotism is to uphold the democracy of this country. I said, wow, that's a deep thing. Now, I'm not saying it exactly like he said it, but that's the way I took it last night. And
well, different people have different ideas. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the reason why we have, we elect our Congress and, our representatives, and they go to Washington, they go to the Capitol, which is on your shirt right there, and they debate. And they debate on, what patriotism is. I mean, they debate on, what, whether or not, certain bills should be passed. They debate on a number of things. So, I mean, I think, when you leave outside of this bubble that we live in, mm-hmm. and you talk to people who are not from this area, who never lived in this area, mm-hmm. I mean, they have very different ideas of how things work in Washington, D.C., mm-hmm. And they have very different ideas of how things should work in Washington, D.C. And mm-hmm. when you start talking about elections have consequences. I mean, that's one of the things that happened with this election. The people that don't live in this area think that, that the federal government is broken. And, and they overwhelmingly voted for who they voted for because
they were making so many
change.
promises.
But
the promises that they were making are coming out now that most of those promises that he made are not even,
well, I mean,
he changed his mind. So
we're a month in, so I mean, we got to kind of see what happens, you know. But you know, you can't let what somebody else is doing have an impact on who you are as a person. You have, you know, I'm talking about myself. You know, I have my morals, I have my standards, you know, and you know, you have to be willing to, you know, take a stand on what you believe in and whatnot.
Right.
But you know, in terms of whether or not promises are going to be broken and things of that nature, I mean, we got to wait and see. I mean, that's part of it. And then you got to be willing to take a stand on things that you don't think are right. And, you know, sometimes maybe there are going to be some things that may happen that you may think are okay, and then you may agree with it. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this is a different time that we're living in. I'm going to be 50 this year, so in my lifetime, I've never seen, you know, the type of, this type of change at the federal government level. I think I've seen it at the state government level, where I grew up, but I've never seen it at the federal government level. But you know, I mean, there've been times before where other presidents have come in and said that they wanted to shrink the size of the federal government. I mean, I think when Reagan, I mean, I was very young when Reagan came in. I think I was 4 or 5 years old when he came in. But for what I remember, he wanted to shrink the federal government. And I think Bill Clinton, when he came in, he did shrink the federal government. You know, and I felt that directly because she shrunk the size of the armed forces. I mean, basically cut it in half. And I think, you know, during his period of time, he tried to shrink the size of the federal government. And then the next president that came in, who was George W. Bush, increased it because, you know, we had 9/11 and you know, they thought we needed, you know, a bigger government in order to deal with, you know, the new world, the new terrorist world. So we never know what's coming around the corner. And, you know, I mean, you know, a lot of times circumstances will determine, you know, how we move forward. So, you know,
Well,
but this is just my opinion.
Well,
you know,
yeah, I mean, and all of us are entitled to them, you
Yeah.
know. But I would say that in my lifetime, and I'm older than you,
Yes.
I would never think that.
Only by about 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Right,
But I'm
Paula?
still saying that I thought that I would never, ever thought that I would live in an era that I'm living in. Because even when those things happened, they were not at the level of the way, somebody put it like this, a news commentator, like I said, I mean, I watch news and everything else. One of the news commentators said that we have been, it's a distraction. The federal government is the big distraction from us. And we're not paying attention to all the other smaller companies that are being dismantled under the federal government. And it was like 14 other entities that were being fired. And they said
It's interesting that you say that. It's almost like when you're at the circus and, you know, the clown is up performing, and, you know, the clown is typically the smartest, you know, they're very intelligent people, so they're making a big show, but you never know, like, what's going on in the background. So you're saying the same thing.
I'm saying what the person said,
Yeah.
that we are being distracted, and they showed the 14, and this was on 2 different news channels, they were showing the 14 other government agencies that were being dismantled and were being fired during that week when everybody was focused on, which they should have been, on the big global focus of the federal government being dismissed. And they said that's why we have to pay attention to all of the news, and not just one news commentary. Make sure that you look at different ones that you trust and see if they're saying the same things, because one person can say one thing because they're pro and the other one can say if they're against. So they said, so make sure you look, and I do that. They make sure that you look at all different types of news organizations and make sure that they're saying the same thing. And so they said, so it's a distraction for us because there's so many millions of people that are being fired and something changes every day. And the biggest thing was making this person that is not an American citizen, this is not me saying, this is what the commentator said, a not American citizen, really telling everybody what to do versus the president of the United States who was elected. And so that's different. And I did see on the news the other day that down in Florida, that they're thinking about doing the same thing with a dose down in Florida. That governor down there just announced that yesterday. And so I'm just saying, so you need to pay attention to all the news. And this Capitol is supposed to be the people that are the people that keep us straight.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are responsible. But if you got most of the people that are in Congress Republicans and you got a Republican president, then that's a little hard, because the people that got vetted, that was the first time I've ever seen a vet for anything, a judge, a senator, I don't care, that it just, no experience, no nothing, no anything. Just that this is what it said I want, and the Congress just passed it. That was really, really, really took me off guard, because it wasn't really a true vet system that we're used to seeing. Where
Well, Paula, I don't want to disagree with you, but presidents, when they come in, they have a right to, all presidents when they come in, they appoint cabinet level people.
Yes, they do.
And they are vetted by the Senate.
Yes.
And with the last president that came in, all of his appointments were approved by the Senate.
But I'm not saying about the approval. I'm talking about the job descriptions. Most of those people laughed because one of the ones that he made in charge of some place last night on the news, this is a young guy, and he had to laugh. He said, because I know I'm not qualified for this position, but okay, I'll take it. I'm not going to say who the name was, but so yes, that is a process that we go through. I said that, but I've never seen the process go where at least those people were qualified in the jobs. In the job descriptions, for any job you should have qualifications to make sure that you're qualified for that job. Most of these people that went through that system through the Senate did not have qualifications for any of the jobs that they had. I'm not saying that all of them didn't, but it was quite a few of them that did not have the qualifications for the jobs in which they've been handed. Some of them, a few of them had no qualifications whatsoever. The thing about, so I'm saying that's the difference. I understand, I agree. You know, that's why when you have a Democratic Senate and a Republican president, it's hard, and when you have a Republican Senate and you got a, you know, Republican president, it's easy, okay, because everything is going to go through. What I'm saying is that the hearings did not really even go like they usually do, even for the city council, same thing.
For the city council?
I mean, they have to sit down and vet people as well, you know, because it's part of government, for whoever state that's in. So what I'm saying that,
but Paula, it's rare that the Senate rejects a cabinet level appointee. It's very, very rare that that happens, where they don't, even if the president is Democrat and the Senate is Republican, it's rare that they come back and reject a nominee.
It's rare, but it happens. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just thinking, I can't think of a time. I can't think of a time where one has been rejected. I know there have been times where certain people have resigned, or people have said, you know, hey, I no longer want to be considered because they weren't going to make it through, and that even happened this time with the guy who was going to be Attorney General. The guy from Florida, what was his name? Matt Gaetz.
Matt Gaetz.
What was he going to? He was going to be
the
Attorney General, and before he even went to the Senate, they were like, no.
Right.
Well,
and then he just took himself out of consideration.
And I give a lot of respect for him that he took himself out of the running, because they already said they weren't going to vet him. Okay, so
he wasn't going to make it through.
Well, what I'm saying is that I agree with you 100%. Yeah. I agree with that, and I appreciate the fact that he knew. See, that's why I respect him, because he knew that whatever it was that was going to keep him from making it through, he just threw his hands up and said no. But for those that know that they had no experience, they don't know what the hell the job is all about, that still going through the process, I don't have no respect for them, because you don't know a daggone thing about what's going on in the position that you're being handed. Whereas me, even a person at Burger King, they want to know if you got experience. You know, somebody that comes and work in your job, you want to interview them and see if they have an experience. If they do, they get it, they don't.
But here's the thing, though.
And that's just you.
The elections
we talking about, excuse me, we talking about more than one person.
Yeah.
We talking about the whole Senate, okay? We're not just talking about Donald Bell sitting down interviewing somebody. We're talking about the Senate of the United States that we hold accountable, that's supposed to be for the people, by the people, with the people, whatever, okay?
But that's the reason why elections have consequences, because everything that President Trump said that he was going to do, he's doing. And the next thing is, even when you go down further down the line, I mean, the Democrats were in charge of the Senate and they lost. So they lost seats.
Oh yeah, they lost seats.
So the Republicans were able to take over. So guess what? They get to push through. They get to push through their agenda. That's the consequences of the election.
But they also said that the president went through and offered certain people money to run those positions. Even the Governor Hogan was offered money to run for that Republican seat, and he said no. Okay, so I call that integrity, okay? Because you should not have to buy a person to sit in a seat. That was in the news. That's not something I made up. That was in the news. Governor Hogan, I take my hat off to you because you said no. Go back and Google it. He was offered and offered money for a seat to run for that particular seat so they would have.
Well, he did run for the Senate.
Well, but he backed out of it as well.
No, he didn't.
At one point,
Angela
he did.
Ossenbrooks won.
I know she did win. I know she won, but it came to a point where he disclosed what had happened, and I think that he stopped it.
No, she won the election.
Well, I know she did. I know she won the election.
She ran against him.
Yeah, well, there was some other people that were running too, besides him. But go back, I'm gonna go back and look at it. I might be wrong, but I thought that it got to the point where he said that he wanted to back out because he exposed that he was offered money to take that position. And so he backed out. Now, if he didn't, I'm sorry, but if he did do that, I take my hat off to him. If he didn't do that, I got the information wrong. Okay, that's why I said, you look at your sources and see, because I'm not here to debate. All I know is that Allison Hasselbrook is on that ballot this week, next week.
No, Angela Ossenbrooks won.
Well, she won the Senate. The other girl is, what's her name?
Aisha Braveboy.
Aisha Braveboy is
Rashawn Baker.
Rashawn Baker, and it's about 5 other people that's on there that's been on there before. Yeah. So you need to look and make sure you read. And good night.
Open up your books to page 360.
Did you just look at your phone while you was in class? You played yourself.
About inspirational quotes.
You gotta believe in yourself. Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Louise, can you give me an example of an inspirational quote?
Don't play yourself. The key is to make it.
And who said that?
I did. Now that's a major key alert.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchool.com.